Okay, let's see a little bit more of what jQuery can do. We've got our Hello World application, so we've got it up and running, and this puts up an alert box, but we don't usually use alert boxes in production sites. Let's just make this a little bit more compact. This is the phrase that I always use to start my jQuery. And so what's inside these curly brackets is what jQuery does when it loads. And what we're going to see first is creating content. So one of the things we can do is to create a bit of HTML. So if I pass into the dollar function, so dollar is the JavaScript function, the jQuery function. If I pass in a bit of HTML, so div hello world, so a bit of well-formed HTML, then that creates a node. So let's just save that and see what it does. So the node got created, but we didn't get to see it. There are usually three things that you do if you want to change the contents of your web page. You have to create a node, and that's what we've done here. So this is creating a node, and then you have to add that node into the browser. And we do that using the dollar function again. So body will find a node called body. So every HTML page has got a body. And if I say append, then I can put that node that I just created into the browser. So this line here creates a node, div hello world, and this line here finds the body node that was already in the page and appends the thing I just created. It puts it inside. So let's save that and reload. And you can see my node has appeared. So whatever, this creates a bit of HTML and this puts it in the page. That's fine. But this is a programming language, and so with a programming language, if you can do it once, you can do it 100 times. So here's a loop in jQuery. It's pretty standard. You'll have seen this sort of thing in other programming languages, I'm sure. This is JavaScript going on now. So for var I equals 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus, and then open curly brackets, and this thing here, let's cut that out and put it in. Checking the indentation first, of course. So what's happening now is that the line that I did once, I'm now doing it 100 times. Save that and reload, and we're saying hello world 100 times. So 100 times what we're doing is creating a node, putting that node into the browser. Okay, well, what about doing it differently each time? Supposing I take that message and I apply some CSS. So I can say msg.css, and let's go for font size. So font size, let's make that 24, so it's nice and big. Save that and reload. Okay, so we've got these are all larger. What about a different size each time? What about 0 the first time around the loop, and then 1 the next time around the loop, and so forth, up to font size 100. Save that and reload. And you can see that first hello world there is so small we can't see it, and then point size 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until the very last one is, I guess that'll be 99 will be the last one here. So this one here is font size 99. Let's just review what's going on. We're using dollar in 3 different ways here. So this is dollar introducing the ready function. So I pass into dollar an anonymous function, and that anonymous function does this line of JavaScript. So this is a normal JavaScript loop. It runs 100 times. This dollar here is being used to create a node. So if you give the dollar function a bit of valid HTML, it'll turn that into a node and it'll return that node. This is the dollar function doing a find. So that's saying search that HTML document, find the body node. Here it is. Even if you don't explicitly put in a body node, then your browser will put a body node in for you. So you'll always have a body node. You'll have exactly one. And then dot append. This is a method of dollar, and it says the second argument. So this thing here, this message, put that inside at the end of the body element. So 100 times we're putting a new node in and we're executing some jQuery. Okay, all right. So here's our code. Where did it go? Yeah, here's our code. Here's a normal loop, a JavaScript loop, and we're doing some jQuery inside it. Here are some useful functions then. So dollar is the overloaded function. It does three things so far: ready function, create element, find element. Append is being used to add an element into another element. Prepend is like append, but append puts something at the end of an element, whereas prepend puts it at the beginning. CSS is a function that's used to set the CSS property of an element, and HTML changes the content. Let me just rewrite my example, because I don't usually do this. I very rarely actually do that kind of stuff. So there's two ways I would avoid doing that. Usually I have an empty node, I create an empty node, and if I want to put something in it, I've got two choices. I can say MSG Andrew was here. Okay, so nope, that should be .html. So msg.html, Andrew is here. That changes the content of that node, changes the HTML inside the node. Let's reload, check that worked. Yeah, there you go, Andrew is here. So here I'm using the HTML function, and here I'm using the CSS function. The CSS function lets me set the font size. Good. In the next example, we will start looking at some images and processing some data.